My name is Mike Sullivan. I'm a former IRS agent and teaching instructor with the Internal Revenue Service. I've worked there a decade. I've been in private practice for 4 decades. That makes me really old, as you can imagine. I have worked thousands, maybe 10,000 cases. I'm a national expert in IRS resolution matters. Welcome to the home of the 5-minute video or less. No one has an attention span that long, and no one wants to listen to me that long. And I'm not going to give you a lot of fluff. I can just go ahead and tell you in the next 3 minutes there's a way to keep your tax returns audit proof. And the best way to do that, and I don't want this to sound promotional, I know it's going to, is you got to give your tax return to an IRS agent to review. Um, Let me tell you the process so you understand kind of how this works. I know this is going to sound promotional as hell, and I don't mean it to, but I'm called all the time, and people ask me review the returns, and they say, "Can you help me not go through an audit?" Well, in fact, we can. You can audit proof a return because if you're a former IRS agent and you've looked at thousands and thousands of tax returns, you understand why a tax return is kicked out for an audit. You used to see you get the tax return and it'll come from the service center what they're looking at, so you understand what the process is. So if you're a former IRS agent, generally, you can tell whether that return is earmarked for an audit. You have to understand that some people end all their tax returns in zero. They're taking a lot of credit. Some of the business deductions they're taking are crazy. But the number one reason you're audited is because your DIF score, DIF, or your discriminatory index function score. So we kind of understand what those ranges are. So let me just at least explain to you how it works so you understand the process. Let's say you have a tax return and you have $100,000 of income on there. And let's say your deduction for home interest is $18,000. Well, what IRS does is they have a series of algorithms that they run every tax return through. And they look at the people generally who made $100,000 and they look at their interest deduction. Well, if you're not if you're not within the IRS norm for that range, boop, a flag goes up. But that doesn't mean it's right, but IRS is going to add up all these flags and do all this scoring and say, boom, this tax return is subject to an IRS audit. There's ways around that I'm not going to go into. I'm not going to give away the secret sauce, but generally there's some things you can do, some things you can attach, some explanations you can give them. So when IRS does go ahead and look at this, they're not going to bring your return out. Now, it's not foolproof because IRS, say, out of every 5,000 tax return, just pulls it for an audit just to make sure their records are correct and they're doing the right thing. So if you're not sure about a tax return and you want to have a former IRS agent go ahead and review it for audit purposes, contact a former IRS agent. Doesn't have to be us. You want to make sure they're in the audit division, they know what they're doing, and just make sure your tax return makes sense. You get some returns, people send it to you, they're, who the hell prepared this return? It's not even making any sense. So just remember, it has to make sense to start. Have somebody sharp prepare it and understand if you're getting a big refund or that preparer seems shady, get the hell out of Dodge. It ain't worth the money, okay? It just isn't at the end of the day. If you love the information I gave you, leave me a subscription if you would. If you have a question, leave it in the comment section. We're always available for representation. Have a good one. Thank you for listening to the home of the 5-minute or less video, which this one is 420.